AskReddit. When was your last I gotta get the hell out of here moment? I worked in a factory that made large plastic items via filling molds with powder and sending into a giant industrial oven that heated to 550 degrees Fahrenheit. At the end of the week I was cleaning said oven and my boss, not knowing I was inside, turned it on. At the sound of hydraulic doors closing I dove out of the oven just as they closed and avoided free cremation. I both got the hell out of that oven and that company pretty quick. Was in New Orleans interviewing for a job that required driving a company vehicle 10 hours a day that had valuable specialty equipment. Interview is going great and we get to the part about pay. Guy goes, we can offer you 10 an hour. A big smile came over my face and I leaned over to shake his hand. He thought I was agreeing. I was telling him bye. Popeyes pays around 15 an hour here. Fast forward 3 months. That guy can't figure out why every driver he hires steals the equipment. Meanwhile, all the Popeyes workers look familiar and he thinks he's losing his mind. This was like 5 years ago. I was 24 years old, got way too drunk at my local bar, and ended up going back to this guy's apartment. It was decorated by somebody's grandmother for sure. There were candelabras everywhere. He lit all of them, then sat me on the couch and proceeded to go through all of these old family photo albums, specifically looking at pictures of his siblings and cousins as children. No joke, he was getting so hard that I could see the album start moving up and down. Then he asked me if I had any pictures of when I was a child or my siblings when they were children. Never sobered up so fast and booked it right the F out of there. Edit, because I got messages about drunk driving. This was in New York City. I walked 16 blocks through East Harlem and never felt so safe in my life. My mom was content with living with bedbugs, a creepy 50-year-old man who might pay our bills as well as his kids and our cousins, all in a shitty mobile home that she hadn't been making payments on. It was in such bad shape, it wasn't even worth repossessing. I could never have any time to myself. I was always surrounded by bratty kids while constantly scratching at the bite marks the bugs left. I'd go to bed at night wearing sweats with socks on hot nights just to try and keep the damn bugs off me. It didn't work. When I was around 14, I went to go live with my grandma. Of course, that made me a backstabber in the eyes of my mom, but she's not relevant in my life anymore. Edit. Obligatory. I didn't expect this to blow up so much. Thanks for the gold, silver, and support. Last week, I was visiting Los Angeles with my 22-year-old daughter. I had to fill the tank of the rental car. I googled the cheapest gas and waited in line. There was a scummy homeless man yelling, clearly mentally ill. When we got to the pump was broken. You know, when you fill 10 cents of gas and it stops. It took a full minute to get $1 of gas when the homeless man came up to us. He was yelling, "Now this is a nice car." I grabbed the pump from my daughter and said, "Hit the road," and we drove off. Funny thing is, my daughter wasn't scared because she was listening to what the man was yelling about. Apparently, the homeless man was being harassed by another driver. The other driver told him not to touch his car. The car was a piece of shit and the homeless man was making fun of him. "Oh, don't touch this car. Your car is a piece of shit." That's when he came to our car. "Now this is a nice car. I won't touch this one. But yours is a piece of shit, you asshole." So it ended up being pretty funny. I panicked for nothing. A girl I'd gone on a couple dates with, we weren't dating though, invited me and several of her friends to a bar to celebrate her birthday. Among them were 2 brothers I'd never met before. They got drunk pretty fast and were being really loud. Loud enough that it was obviously annoying the other bar patrons. The brothers decided to do a shot, and after gulping them down, one let out a loud woo. A random bar patron gave mocking woo back at him. This obviously pissed off the brothers, but for the moment they didn't do anything and just stayed quiet and stewed on it. Then they decided to do another shot. After doing the shot this time, instead of a woo, one of the brothers looked at the bar patron and yelled out, "Douche." In that instant I shot out of my chair to walk out of the bar. There was no way I was going to let these drunk bro assholes drag me into some physical altercation by proxy for no reason. The thing was, at least 2 other members of our group had the exact same plan. So on the word douche the 3 of us stood up in unison and walked out of the bar without a word to anyone until we got outside. The bar has big glass windows in front, so we could see that the two brothers were suddenly quite deflated that a third of what they must assumed was their crew had just bailed on them. The birthday girl played peacemaker and went to apologize to the bar patron, which he was gracious about. The rest of the group left just a few minutes after we did, with no further incident. I never dated that girl again. I gave my ex a ride to his court hearing for hitting my daughter. I pointed out to him inside that there was a sign that said no cell phones and that I would run our phones out to the car and she right back. I felt like my heart was going to break my sternum, and I had tunnel vision as I called my sister and told her I needed her and her husband to come with their pickup truck to my house right now because I had a small window to get as much of my daughters and my possessions out of my house before he was released from court. Just as we were wrapping up, I saw him running down the street like Usain Bolt right for me. I yelled for them to drop what they had and get in the truck and go. Just as I close my car door, he runs up and tries to smash it open. I fumbled with my keys to get the engine started. He then stands in front of my car blocking my path. I dismissed my burning desire to run him over and threw it in reverse and smashed the gas pedal down the block to the next street. I'd like to say things got better after that, but that was just the beginning of the worst year of my life. Now I'm past all of that and living a better life. In the fall, I was walking down a trail in the woods during the middle of the day. A raccoon was sitting in the middle of the trail, facing us, sitting on its butt, head kind of lowered, bugs buzzing all around it. It didn't move at all. It just stared at us. We decided to turn around. I don't know what rabies looks like, but that's not how I want to find out. I'm a New Yorker and have been all my life, so I'm not 100% acquainted with raccoons. That being said, a lot of raccoons have recently started living in the city, so I'm having to learn. One night I was walking down the street and these big yellow eyes just turned a corner and stare at me. Honestly, I forgot raccoons' eyes glow in the dark, so for a second I literally thought I was looking at some sort of demon creature or maybe a psycho that had done something to his eyes and was crawling on the street. We both stopped and stared at each other for maybe 15 seconds, which gave me enough time to realize it was a raccoon. Suddenly the thought came to me, am I gonna have to fight a raccoon to the death right now? It started walking towards me, but on the extreme right side of the sidewalk, and I just walked right by it on the extreme left side. Turns out raccoons are pretty chill. When my manager told me, sometimes you need to make a choice between your health and your job. To be fair, my current awesome boss told me that, the difference being that he was trying to convince me to take more time off to heal from surgery. It's all in the emphasis, I guess. I pulled into a gas station to fill up my car at 4 AM on the way to work. The station was well lit and actually pretty busy, so I didn't feel unsafe. I pulled up next to a pump, go out, and just when I put the nozzle in I heard someone trying to get my attention. I turned and it was a guy who had been leaning against the wall of the station. When I pulled in, there was a van nearby him. He asked if I could call his girlfriend to come pick him up. I called one number, voicemail box full. He gave me a second number, mailbox also full. Then he asked if I had jumper cable and if I could give me a jump. I agreed, thinking the van he was nearby was his vehicle. Then, after I agree, he tells me the story of how he got there. According to him, his car had broken down at another gas station up the street. He said it was closed, so he couldn't get any help. So he borrowed a bike from someone and rode it down to this gas station. Then he went into the gas station to leave the bike there. As soon as he started walking away, my brain started racing and pointing out all the things that didn't add up about this story. First, all I could imagine in those voicemail boxes were a bunch of people going, your boyfriend is stuck at the gas station. Then, I thought about how in the hell would he legitimately borrow a bike from someone at a closed gas station in the middle of the night in the middle of winter. At that point, I decided it was time to get the fuck out of there. Thankfully, I hadn't pumped any gas yet, so I quickly put it back on the pump, got into my car, and tore out of there. I actually felt a little bad, because what if he actually needed help? But then I reminded myself about him borrowing a bike in that situation, how he was trying to get me to a dark, secluded secondary location. This dude was absolutely trying to rob/murder me. Never go to the secondary location.